All right. How we doing? I am live, and it is time for Swami Streams, and I am sort of prepared, so we'll see how it goes. I gotta change this setting there. I think that was right. Yep. Wow, here we go, and I am. It's Monday, and I'm streaming again. And looking forward to getting some work done. As I start the stream, I'm always like busy playing with controls and getting things straightened out and all that kind of chaos. And oh, this isn't running here. Let me see, get that going. Okay, cool. And yeah, it's a little crazy. So today I'm going to be working on my Blazor app. And I think I'm going to be doing more of the server side stuff on the app today as I get into this thing and see what's going on. And then, so I'm going to get some stuff going here. You know what? I don't have Visual Studio open. So how's your Monday going? It's weird. A lot of things are weird, really. Let's face it. I mean, to me, it's like weird doing this on a Monday, and I'm coming off the weekend and trying to get workday going and the stream going. And there's a lot of stuff happening at once. And oh my God, I'm toggling things between windows. You guys only get to see one screen. Actually, right now, you don't see any screen, but you get to see one screen of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I've got working here. And it's craziness. Why did I put this over here? I don't want that over there. So I'm still setting myself up. And where did my Visual Studio go? Visual Studio is missing. Maybe it's like, where's Visual Studio? Ooh, what's that? Hit minima. Okay, that was really weird. All right, now I got Visual Studio going. And I'm hanging out on a Monday on what looked like it was going to be a rainy day. And now it doesn't look so bad. And, wondering what everybody's up to. Hope you all had a good Mother's Day. I had a pretty good Mother's Day. I mean, I'm not a mother, but I think my wife was happy with the presents from her kids, our kids, I should say. Went and saw my mom, went to my sister's house and saw my mom, and we're all vaccinated. We hugged. It was really nice. It was a nice, somewhat normal weekend, I think. Yeah, it was like a somewhat normal weekend. I hope you are all doing well. And I just want to test. I just don't trust anything. I'm going to trust chat here and make sure chat is working. I think I'm going to do it like this and say hello. Hello all. And if you're there and you're with me, let's see. Is that? Oh yeah. Okay, good. Because restream chat sometimes makes me nervous. Oh, Rich Ross is here. Hey, Rich Ross. How are you? Coming to me from YouTube. So hopefully you saw the restream message I just put out, which just said hello all. And I'm just getting set up on a Monday morning. Rich, hope you had a good weekend. I was just saying that I went to my, spent some time with family, which was really nice for Mother's Day. And customers, public service announcement time. So on Friday, my taxes are still getting done, and everything's a little late this year, but my taxes are getting done. My accountant called. He said, hey, I'm filing your taxes for you. All I need is your driver's license information, because the federal government uses the driver's license, in the United States at least. The federal government uses your driver's license number as some ID for verification if you call with a question. And he said, I just need your driver's license. And I said, well, hello from Bolivia. Hey, all right. Well, this may not be that great a story for you. But JCNet 2008 from Bolivia. Wow, that's so cool, by the way. That's awesome. We are worldwide. I love that. So anyway, he says, can you give me your driver's license number? I said, just take it from last year's tax returns. And he's like, well, it expired. And that's when I said, wait, it expired. And so that I knew right off the bat that I haven't gotten a new driver's license in a while. So I looked at my driver's license. Turns out it was expired in November. Right? Don't tell anyone. Right? It expired back in November. You know, of course we were in the heat of COVID and all that kind of stuff. And so I wasn't really doing a whole lot of driving, but I used my drivers. I drove many times. And so my public service announcement for you today is, hey, if you have those kind of documents, driver's license or whatever it is, passport, take a look at those documents every now and then and see if they're up to date. Mine was not, right? And so that's my public service announcement for today. So, hey, I am going to go and write some code because that's what this is all about. So I'm going to close all tabs. I always like to start off nice and clean. I have no pending changes, right? I checked everything in last week. And let's get people up to speed. Hello from Jamaica. This can't be real. Good vibes. I got Jamaica and Bolivia. Oh man, Ricardo Thomas. Thank you for joining me from Jamaica. I mean, this is rock solid here. I'm digging this. So let's take a look at writing some code here, and I'm popular on YouTube today, which is interesting because usually I have more people on the Twitch side of things, and so that's why I use Restream, right, to go to both. But really cool. So I'm going to get everyone up to speed really quickly on the app that I'm building. It's a Blazor app, Blazor front end. I'm using Blazor Server for now. Okay, and I've got this at the end of what I'm working on right now is I've got this UI where you can enter some information which is feedback for a team, right? We're just collecting some basic feedback, and so I have this method in the Blazor app called send feedback, and it takes this feedback input and it sends it back via HTTP. Hopefully this is enough of an explanation, but if it's not, that's no problem. We can fix it later, but I'll be happy. Just jump in with comments if you need to know more. But I'm calling back to my API, my ASP.NET web API that has a feedback controller, right? And I'm just doing a post to that. And if we look at that, we'll see right now that nothing happens in here really. When I get that post, I have it rigged a little bit to say if the team ID is 1, pretend it was an error. Otherwise, send an OK result. That's just for me testing my UI for this thing, right? So what I now need to do is take this feedback entry stuff, which is not super complicated. There's a couple of fields in here. And I hope this is good. I always try to start off the stream by kind of explaining where we're at so people have an idea. Why won't this open here? Let's go feedback entry. Okay, so I've got a team ID, a sprint end. We're going to collect data at the end of each sprint, and then a couple of values that determine the feedback. All right, really simple. So what I need to do now is I need to put that into some sort of database, right? And I think I am going to use a database for now. There's a lot of ways I could do this. I'm going to do this in a SQL database on Azure. That's the plan. And so what do I want to do? Let's take a look at a couple things here. So I just want to check something really quickly over here. And sorry, hang on one second, lots to do. So, okay, so I think I'm going to make like a database project in here to generate the database via like a DAC pack deployment. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's a way that I really like working with SQL Server when I'm working with a Microsoft, like a web project and this kind of stuff. So I think to do that, I'm going to create a new project, and see, add new project. And so for this, and I'm going to jump right back into the code too. But what do? I think it's called a database project, right? Database, SQL Server database project. That sounds good. And I have to name it correctly. So I want to name it in line. I screwed up this one. This one didn't get the Swami stream. See, I have Swami streams, team feedback, and I kind of screwed this one up. So I kind of like to have like fully qualified names, probably overkill for these kind of projects. But when I'm doing a project, and we can call this a demo if we want, this is actually going to be real code that's going to be put into production at my company. And I will rename it. I will do some things like that. It won't be for Swami streams. But even when I'm doing other things, I really like to follow, best practices, or at least my best practices. They might not be yours, but and I'm going to call this DB. Simple as that. Team feedback. That should be fine. And by doing this, and I'm not going to put a lot of time into this database just yet, but I'm kind of just getting things set up. So I've got a DB project, right? And now in my web API, what I'm going to do, I have a controller in the web API, and it's going to be interesting how to do this. But I think I'm going to create another project, and I think that hopefully that will be the end of my projects, because I don't like to have too many. I don't know about you guys. I don't like to have too many projects in the solution. I used to do lots of projects. This is going to be a library. This is going to be a class library. So I guess I can just use this class library here. Select that. And I'm going to call it Swami Streams Team Feedback. And as you're watching, if you have any questions or you want to throw out any suggestions, this is the way I do things. I'm going to call this back end, and I'm going to lump in a lot of stuff. I don't know, back end, capital E? Sure, why not? .NET 5 sounds good. Okay. And I think most of the work is going to happen in this back end project, because the web API is going to call the back end project. Okay, so the Blazor server app is going to call the web API, which is going to call the backend project. All right, now at some point, maybe that's going to change as I move to Blazor client side. I wonder how much more code sharing they can be and things like that, but I don't know yet. I'm just getting this thing together here. So what I like to do, okay, here's my web API, and I'll talk about a little bit of design. This is the feedback controller, right? This is where things are going to happen. Now, some people might say right here, business logic, right? Maybe validation, maybe call the repo, like stuff like that. Okay. And there's more I could do in here, right? But I don't like doing that. That's not the way I tend to build applications. The way I orchestrate these applications, the way I put them together, is that my controllers should be kind of dumb, right? I'm a big fan of single responsibility. And single responsibility principle would say that this let's see what's going on here. This controller should do very little, and all it's going to do is be a controller, right? And it's going to call this thing called a feedback orchestrator. So if I go down to my back-end project, I'm going to create a couple folders in here, and I'll do add new folder, and I'll call it orchestrate. Oh, we got to spell it right. Orchestrator. Okay, and I'll put my orchestrators in there, and I'll add another folder. And I'm going to call this mini, and I'll get to what that means later. Mini services, why not call it that? And, well, let's leave it there for now, okay? So in this orchestrator, I'm going to create a new class. I'm going to call this my feedback orchestrator. .cs. Okay. And of course we'll make this public. And in here, oh, let's see. I'm going to have the first method is going to be called add feedback. Okay, that's going to be the first method. Now it won't be void, and it will be async as a matter of fact. So let's call it async. That's what it's going to be, asynchronous method here. And in here, we're going to do a bunch of stuff. We're going to call a few, I call them mini services that do stuff. Okay. Now, what do I want to return from this? Because I'm really at the beginning stages here. And what do I want to return from this? I probably want to return the fact that this worked or did not work and any error messages. I don't know if I need to return the data back. So in my, somewhere in the shared project, I have this object called a result, and this is gonna work for me. I'm gonna return a result. So in my backend, I'm gonna create a, I'm gonna add a project reference to shared, and in here, in shared, I'm going to, oh sorry, in my orchestrator, the return type is going to be a result. Okay, and I will use that. Okay, and I like to be able to return, you know, this will give us more pieces of information. It'll be helpful, right? So let's just start off by saying result equals new result. Okay, and I can say return result here. Okay, and then all the other stuff will happen in the middle here. Now I could even do this, right? I could even do that and make things a little smaller. And I could, well, it's telling me I could inline it, but that's not going to work for things for later. Now, I also want this to be asynchronous, so why don't I right now make it a task of result? Okay, and I can fix this later, but I want to say, what is this thing, like async? How does it go? I haven't done this in a while because this is like the thing where I'm just going to hack this. I want to say, I want to do like async, or is it task dot from result, and I think I can just do this for now. And that's because it's not really asynchronous yet, but it'll just sort of get those squigglies to go away. Eventually, I'll take this away. Okay, because I don't have any awaits in there yet. So what I want to do now is I want to figure out what my input is going to be. Now my input, I guess, is going to be one of these feedback entries. Okay, and I can change this later if that doesn't work for me. But I'll take that in. And now what I want to do is I want to validate it. Okay. And then I'm going to want to convert it, because this is like a UI type of class, and I'm going to convert it into some type of, you know, you call it a domain object, right? And then I'm going to save it. And that's going to be the sort of the scope of this orchestrator. Now, I could put some of these things right in here, but I'm not going to do that. I like to have the single responsibility principle rocking here. And good morning from Guatemala. Miguel RM, how are you? Welcome back. Recognize that name. Welcome back to Swami Streams. We're writing some code. We're doing some C# stuff and some .NET 5 and some ASP.NET Core stuff going on here. And so I've got this, again, orchestrator. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to this mini services area, and I'm going to add a couple more folders in here. I'm going to start with a folder called validators. Validators or validator? I never know if I should make it plural. I'm going to go single. Okay. And in here, I'm going to put a simple class called the feedback entry validator. Okay, this thing's going to do one thing. It's going to validate my entry. Okay, and public class there. And I'm going to say public void, because I don't know the return type yet, validate. And it's going to take a feedback entry, which I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a reference to that yet, do I? Entry. No, not yourself. Feedback. Oh, I'll call it feedback entry. Whoop, feedback entry. Okay. And so if I go into this section here, I need to add. No, this does have a reference. This should have a reference. Let's see. Yeah, that's all. Okay. So I'm going to validate that thing. And for now, I'm going to just start off by returning a list of strings. Okay, the strings will be the messages. And I can make this more intricate and more interesting as I go along. But let's just say I'm going to have in here a list of string. I'll call it messages equals new list of string. I'm going to say return messages, and life is good. This will actually work. I hate when it puts all these things in here for me. I hate having extra usings. I'd rather add them myself. I don't know about you guys. This is a pet peeve of mine, and sometimes I forget to do it, but I like to clear out unused usings. It's like my favorite, you know, call it refactoring. I guess it's a refactoring. I like to do that all the time. So simply in here, now this is single responsibility principle. So all this thing is going to do is validate that this feedback entry is okay. And really to do that, we're just going to make sure that some of the fields that are required are here, right? As simple as that. So I'm going to say something like if feedback entry dot team ID has value, or does not have value. Okay, not have value. And I'm going to simply say something like this, messages dot add, and I'll say team is required. Okay, simple as that. And that's sort of what I'm going to do here in this validation section. So it's not going to be too fancy, but it also doesn't take a whole lot of time to do. So what else do I have in here? I have, why isn't that? There we go. So the sprint end date is a nullable date. Now on this one, I probably want to say, not just that it has, okay, so let's just say sprint date, end date equals null, or let's just leave it like that for now. Sprint end, no, get rid of that thing. If the sprint end is null, then I'm going to say, you know, something like please specify the sprint, because it really is just determines the sprint. Specify, and I think I want to have some date validation in here, but I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. So I can later add more date specific validation. All right. And what else do I have in here? I have this, things went well. So those are strings right now, but that's okay. So I'm going to say, I don't have my helper methods in here. I don't have my string helpers. I like to have something in here that says is null or empty. I use like an extension method, custom extension methods of my own, but I don't have that in here, and I really don't feel like writing it in here just yet. So I'm going to say string dot is null or white space, and let's see. I always get these backwards, so I want to say, oh, if it is, okay, then I'll say well, I don't even know what I'm going to call this. I have to come up with a better name. Because things went well is kind of a weak variable there. And let's put that other one in here just for clarity. Is better than last. And I'm just going to say is better than last. Okay. So if any of this doesn't work, right? Not access, it could be marked as static. Yeah, that's true, but I'm going to leave that for now. So this is essentially, in my book, a single responsibility class that knows how to validate this this object that comes in. Now, if you're new to me and you haven't seen me write code before, I'm really big on the solid principles. Solid principles I try to follow with pretty much everything I do as good as possible, right? You have to take everything, you got to find a balance in these things, but I like to have the single responsibility principle. So this is very single responsibility. Now, let's do this. Let's extract this. So I'm gonna go here. I think I can do it with this. Extract interface. Now, personal preference, I like to keep these interfaces in the same file. To me, there's two kinds of interfaces. One is an interface that I think I'm going to have multiple implementations for. And those, I usually keep the interface in a separate file. And the second approach is to... the second approach is when I'm only putting this interface together for the sake of dependency injection and those kind of things, I keep them in the same file. Okay, now I'm going to try something new. I got some new things hooked up for my stream here. So I'm going to go over to here and put this up in featured chat. I think this will work. So hopefully you're seeing that. So comment from JCNet 2008. This approach is better than data annotation validations? And that is an excellent question. So this is interesting because I have data annotation validations on here. Okay. But where is it? It's this thing here. I do have using data annotations, right? I've got these as being required. And so I don't usually use data annotations, right? Because I don't usually work in this far in the ASP.NET, sort of world, right? A lot of times I'm coming from JavaScript or something like that. And I haven't used a lot of these annotations on here, which I'm using, okay? And so I have them on here. And so I think I could use those validations out of the box. Why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I do that? Now, it's also going to get interesting when I have like more complex validation, and there's going to be a little bit of more complex validation. So this is interesting now, because where would I take, I have the orchestrator, right? And I have this is where we get into an interesting mix of things. And if I look at my feedback controller, a lot of times people would put like the data annotation stuff like right in here. Like if the model is not valid, then return, right? And maybe that's a good idea here because it's sort of in the built-in box here. Now I have to remember how to do that because I haven't done that in a really long time, but that's kind of interesting. JCNet with the suggestion to use the data annotations. I didn't think of that because I never use them, but I'm using them now. And I feel like that would be cool. Now, again, normally I have these like very single. The one thing I don't love about data annotations, right? And maybe I'm old-fashioned here, because I'm old, right? Maybe I'm old-fashioned here, but I like things to be explicit and not implicit, right? That's why I like to say, like, I know validation is happening. I know conversion is, like, I know. And of course, it's going to be, I don't even need comments for it because the code sort of self-documents it. but it's not always obvious what's going on with the data annotations. But I think it's something like model, let me just, is model a word here? Model state is valid. So I could probably just return that. If model state, well, let's try this. This would be interesting. Now, it's kind of complicated, right? Because you could argue that my UI, which is a Blazor UI, this is interesting. See, I have to think of things a little differently with Blazor, I guess. So if you look at my page has this is the entry. Okay, and I have this on valid submit, which means that this thing's not even going to let submit happen if the validation doesn't pass, right? But I like to say, well, what if a different UI is calling my app or a different thing, right? I like to try to think and like not count on the UI providing validation for me, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and put it over here in the controller. So I'll say if model state is valid, right? And I'm going to, of course, say if not valid, right? And then do I want to just return, like, what do I do with that? I guess I need to do something with the error messages, right? So model state dot values error count keys. There's got to be something like a list of messages. I'm really rough with this, and this is one of the cool things about doing things on a stream, you know, kind of learning it. Maybe we're learning it together. Maybe you know this already and you're looking at this thinking, come on, Andy, you're an idiot. We could do this differently. But I'm trying to think, well, I'll tell you what. Let's go to our friend Google and grab a snippet, because there's probably like a simple way to do this. So ASP.NET Web API model state, errors. Let's do that. What was that? I heard something on my headphones. So I'm just going to take a look. This is interesting. Action context response not is valid. They take the request. JCNet says Blazor application and APIs using, yes, the Blazor application and the API are using the same model. And that's the beauty of Blazor, right? So I can use the same validation, but I don't want to rely on the Blazor front end only, right? I don't know. Again, maybe I'm overthinking this, but I feel like the API needs to protect itself in addition to the Blazor app that's sending data to this, okay? So let's see, model state. So I don't know if this is the right place to look. Just get error message text from model state. Yeah, let's see what happens with that. I'm just kind of curious to know what kind of options I have. Error message. Okay, so on, and I don't know. I'm just, I don't know if you're like me. I just scroll down to the first thing that looks like it might be legit. You're serializing the whole model state value object, and maybe I can just send that back. Maybe I just send model state back. I don't know. Oh, you know what? Let's change this a little bit. Let's add the word Blazor onto here. And maybe if I send, this is interesting. Process model state errors from Web API Blazor Server Side call. That's kind of what I'm doing. And I don't see an answer on this one. Rich Ross says, hang on, let's try this. Our friend Rich Ross says, I like that. Never know when the API may get called from for another purpose or app, right? That's what I'm going for here. I like to protect it. But I know I can, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I can reuse that model stuff. So what this person did, I was thinking about this bad request, and Now, again, this person may not have the right answer because they're asking a question. But this is what I was thinking. Like, would I do something like this over here, where I just pass the model state back? And I'm hoping that the Blazor app can sort of do something with that. You know what? Let's play with it. Let's just see what happens. So let's just try it. I mean, I kind of like figuring things out as we go, right? So let's just say, I already have this bad request thing. I'm going to say return bad request, and I'm going to put in model state. Right? Now what I need to do is I need to trick this thing, because the UI won't send a bad model state back to here, right? Because the UI has that little bit of code here saying handle valid submit. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this valid submit and hope that it will handle submit. Now this says, oh, wait, hang on. Is there an on submit? This is on valid submit. On, yes, okay. So I'm going to change this to be, I'm just going to use the same method, all right? Because I don't feel like fixing this. But I have to remember to go back and fix this. I'm going to say on submit, and we're just going to call this method, even though it's called handle valid submit. There's no error handling in here, but I need to put back, say reset on submit handler to on valid submit. I know that if I don't type this, I'm going to forget, and I'm probably still going to forget. So now, well, let's see if this thing compiles, because I probably left some code hanging somewhere. And okay, so build succeeded. So what I want to do, this looks fine here. I'm gonna check my, where's that set multiple projects, set startup projects right there in front of me. I've got good. I've got both of them set to start. So I'm going to debug. Let's see what happens. And let me also say, well, let's just see how this goes. Thanks for stopping by if you're hanging out with me today live. If you're watching in the future and you're seeing this on YouTube, thanks for watching this video where you see me faking my way here through a Blazor application, trying to learn things as I go. And if you're here with me now, thank you. And I appreciate any comments or suggestions along the way. If you're interested, you can follow me on Twitter at ShwamiStreams. And also, you can follow me out here on Twitch, or you can subscribe on YouTube. That'd be great. So this should just take this data right as is and submit it. Because I took off that valid submit. Now I didn't put, oh, unhandled exception occurred. Okay, you know what? Let's just see what I have here. So in my razor, it didn't even get to there. Well, let's just see if it gets back to here. Okay. Feedback entry. I don't know what happened. Let's just try it again, because I didn't really have breakpoints in all the right places. Okay, good. So it did what I was hoping it would do. This thing should be pretty null. I wonder if nulls are causing trouble, but all right, that's okay. And now it should call this thing. Yeah. And now I'm in here with my nulled out object. Oh no, this is the service. Okay, this is the service. I'm still here. And I'm serializing it right now. Here's when I make my HTTP call. So I'm going to make my HTTP call and make sure that I have my, exception, my breakpoint right here. But it didn't seem to like it, that's for sure. It did not like that at all. Oh yeah, look at all that good stuff. No, oh, no connection could be made because the target machine actively, well, that's different altogether. I thought I was debugging that. Did I do? What did I do here? I didn't start that? I thought I had 2 projects set to start, but, well, let's just start it. I don't think it started. API, debug, start new instance. I could have sworn I had it set to start 2 projects, but missed that, I guess. Okay, let's go back here, reload the page, submit, hit my breakpoint. It's back already. So, oh, right. So this thing, let's just think about this. So this feedback service, might need to get changed a little bit. So if I do that again, let's see what happens. Yeah, error. Okay, no problem with that. So I'm going to go into this feedback service where I do all these things. Now what this thing does, this thing is kind of screwing me up here because it's going to strip out whatever comes back in my HTTP result, right? Because I was trying to turn it into something with the status, you know, like a local status. So if we look in here, let's see what we got. Content. Like, did it give me a list of errors? I got a bad request, which is fine. Content, oh, maybe I need to like do something. Not 100% sure do about that. So let's, for kicks, I'm going to let this run. Okay, and that's fine. I'm going to do it again. This time, I want to make sure that my controller, see, why didn't I hit this breakpoint? Oh, I know why, because the nulls probably didn't get serialized very well, right? Like this probably couldn't see this as anything. Let's just take a look real quick over here. I don't think I hit submit. Oop, I don't think I hit submit again. Did I? Maybe I did. Where am I? Just run. Okay, one more time. So if I go into here and I take this feedback input, right, and I serialize it as JSON, oh, it's, you know, it did sort of serialize a lot of nulls. So when that goes over to here, maybe it's just not digging it on the other side at all. Because I have a breakpoint like right here. Taking the content, I'm putting the content into the message and I'm sending it there. All right, let's just see if there's a better message because I didn't really look that closely. So here's my HTTP result, which says bad request. And is there anything else interesting in there? What's the request message? Can't I see this whole thing? Request message. There. Content. Nothing in there. So where is this whole Oh, this is just headers. So maybe it didn't send anything back. Maybe that's what that person was saying. Like it doesn't do that. I mean, I just went for it. So I shouldn't just listen to things that don't have answers in them, right? So, you know, JCNet had this suggestion. I could blame you and say, hey, this was your idea. Because I don't know how to do this. I think it was a great idea, though. I really do. So this thing is not even getting into here. That's a different problem. So I think I've got a couple problems going on here. The fact that it's not getting into here is probably... All right, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Where's the part where it does the validation? See, I think I think it's really ticked off about this deserialization part, like right here. Like it's just not turning that into. So what if we could take a few of the values? Let's try to like see if it works with partial data. Now, why didn't that project start? The API is set to start and the server is set to start. You guys can see, oh, duh. Okay, that was the problem. Okay, so now we got that going, which is nice. Oh my, oh my. You know, this is part of software development, right? It's just like winging it along here. If you're like me, this is what happens. Sorry, I'm trying to look on other monitors here. So I'm going to try this again, and I'm like, maybe it's the date or something like that. So let's just put a date in here. Let's allow like one thing to be, you know, let's just try this, okay, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to submit this, and it's already back. So it already didn't work. So, well, okay, let's try something else here. Let's actually try putting all the values in inside and find out if this has nothing to do with it. This could be a totally different problem. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened to me. So, okay, I'm going to send the message. Aha! That time it got in. So, and the model state is valid. Well, that's interesting. So, if you look at this thing, this feedback entry, I mean, these are nullable values. These are nullable, and these are not, but that's a string. So should let's see if it's the strings. Like maybe it's still like tick off. Let's leave team ID as null. Let's see what happens. So if I do that, hit submit. Oh, look at that. So I'm kind of right about that. It's something to do with the serialization or something like that. So now I have this object that comes back, but it still says is valid as true. And that's probably because that thing defaulted to like, oh no, I did all of them right. I did all of them right. Okay, I forgot to take the other. I'm going to take away one of these like yeses and see what happens. Because I'm not like super great with these model state things. Like this is a little different for me. I don't know. Let's just leave it like that and see if it gets there. No. So model state is getting like rejected before it even gets to that line. Which is interesting. You know, what's really funny is when I set out to do this stream, there's places where I expect to be learning things and things where I don't expect to be learning things. And I would say this is not a place where I expected to learn something new, but I am. And that's really cool. But why is this thing not getting in? So sorry, not here. So it doesn't hit this if the model state model state. And it's going to do this. But why is it doing that without, unless it's something about this breakpoint? I'm going to try one more time. It's just not getting there. Submit. All right. So now let's just think about this. This probably has nothing to do with Blazor at this point. Model state. Yeah, I don't know. Let's just say this, okay? Model validation. This is old though, but it might still give us an idea. So this is a post is valid. Okay, else do this. So why am I not, did I do something? The breakpoint is at the top. So it should hit this breakpoint regardless of whether it's valid or not. It should hit this breakpoint. I have to say like allow invalid things or something like that. Model state is valid because 0 is, yeah, I get that part. I understand that. Over postings and more data than expected. Validation errors. I don't know. Don't know. Does anybody have any ideas? Body. See, they're all doing this. Is valid. If model state is valid. So if it's not, they're returning the model state. But how can I not even get to that? Use bad request model state to return HTTP bad request response, which will inspect the model state and construct error messages, right? That's what I wanted to do. Check the controller's model state. Huh. Now here's a filter. This is what it almost feels like there's some sort of filter attribute that's like grabbing it beforehand. But I don't think that's what's doing. Validation. API controller. This attribute does all basic validation in the... I wonder... See that? Like the modal. I don't know what that means exactly. Like, I mean, I know what a modal is, but... So this might be the problem. The API controller is doing it for us. Which, you know, maybe isn't so bad. It's just that I'm never going to hit that breakpoint. Right? So if that's the case, let's go with that assumption, okay? Okay, gang, let's go with the assumption that the models, the fact that this is an API controller is automatically doing this for me. All right? So if that's the case, then I should see in here those error messages. And I don't know how to see them. Because it did say that, at least this person's saying, bad request return, which will inspect the model state and construct messages using errors. Okay, using errors. I hope this is interesting. It is interesting to me. Actually is interesting to me. So I'm going to try this again. I'm going to try to see if maybe that's in those errors. Miguel Arms says I was on the phone and I didn't hear the question. Thanks a lot. You're supposed to be paying attention. I don't know if you're trying to work on a real job at the same time, or maybe have a life, a personal life on the side. All that is unacceptable during Swami streams. So I'm trying to figure out why. I was a little confused on this model state stuff because I don't do this a lot. And I think the consensus is, and this is a consensus by me, that I'm not getting to this line of code. I'm not getting to see the model state is valid because I'm using an API controller. An API controller is automatically checking the model state and sort of rejecting this thing. And so if that's the case, I'm going to try this again. I'll put in 1 or 2 values, I think. I don't know. And now it should get back to here. Oh, wait, where am I? Oh, yeah, okay. And I went too far. Let's go back. Let's make sure my breakpoint's the right spot. So I'm going to be in this feedback service. Yeah, I want to be right here. Okay, let's try this again. And I'm already back. Okay, I've got the 400 bad request, which is fine. But where are the errors? So I've got send message, content. I would think it would be inside of content or something. Headers? Results view? Oh, wait. That's not it. So where are the messages? If it in fact turned those messages into those errors into messages, which I would think it would, because I think that's what it's supposed to do. I sent it async. I awaited it. So this is the bad request. I don't know. This is interesting here. I wonder what this is. Version. Is this the version of my API? That's kind of cool if it returns that. I think the messages are HTTP content. Oh, a read string as async. So that would make sense, Miguel RM. I didn't do that. I did not do that. I think because I was going fast and I kind of wanted to test this. Well, maybe in the browser network tab. Okay, good thinking. God. Oh, this is not the browser. So if I go, oh, I just closed it by mistake. I hit the wrong button. So, you know what? I had this code in here from before where I was getting the status code. I just wanted to see that it worked. And I never even bothered to get the messages out of here. So I should just do HTTP result dot content read as string async. And I'll say var messages. Wait. Because it's wrapped up. This would make sense. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I didn't think of these things. Let's try that. Miguel RM coming through with the ideas for me. And it's like, my brain goes to mush sometimes when I'm trying to do this stuff. I hear my son home. I'm just going to yell hello to him, hopefully. All right, my son's home. I yell hello to him. All right, so let's see if I do this. Now here I am. So first of all, let's see what's in here. Look at this. One or more validation message occurred. So this is really what we wanted. Thank you. Miguel RM wins the day. That's what we wanted. Now, I have to figure out what to do with that, but that's another story. Let's also check. I like this idea of checking. I might need to let this go through here. So if I go to my browser, what happened? Am I still at a breakpoint? Yeah, sorry. Okay, and I go here, and network. Let's run this again. I'll let it go all the way through. And I wonder if I have to go to oh man, I'm on network entry. So interestingly, it's showing a 200. Oh, that's the page. That's not it. Server. Let's think about this for a second. So my Blazor server is making a call. That. Maybe it like hides it in one of these things because that's interesting. That's kind of weird. I didn't think I had a filter. What does that mean? It seems to be highlighted. Oh, I know what it is. Over here. No, it says all. So filter is on all. Interesting. It's crazy. So it's JavaScript calling it, right? So I'm not really using Blazor. And I wonder if that's a whole different story. No, I guess this is a good way to do it. So on the, let's see about this. On the entry, I basically have this. I wonder if I'm even doing this wrong in the first place. Oh no, wait, no, this is not true. Right, I am, hang on a second. So I got this feedback service. No, hang on a second. This would be if it was Blazor client side. Okay, I think. So this is where Blazor gets confusing to me. So let me think if I understand this correctly. What's happening is this is getting executed from the server, from one server to another server. Right, I am not going to see this on the network tab. Okay. Now I might see something come back inside of like one of these Blazor areas here. Okay, I might see it in here because I think this is where like the Blazor messages go, but these are all binary anyway. There's got to be a way to change these. I don't know, but these are the Blazor messages going back and my thing is happening on the server. So there is no chance that I think I would see that. And I think again, I find Blazor a little confusing because I think about, there's a lot happening on the client, but let's be clear here. And I think I'm right about this. When this code gets executed, I'm doing Blazor server. Okay. This is happening on the server, right? And it's calling this from server to server. So that's why I won't see it there. Okay. So now what I need to do, I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. But at the end of the day, my server side code, this service, again, we're server to server at this point, can get the content out of here and get those messages. Now the question is, how do I turn those messages into something like I have here? And I think the way to do that would be, there might be an automatic way to do it, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to run this again. I'm going to take a look at the JSON and just sort of loop through them, right? And this actually should be pretty easy, but it's all about like getting the head straight, I think, quite frankly. and thinking about the way this is actually working. So if I read my string async here, this is my JSON. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go to code here. I'm just going to do file, new file. Change this to be JSON. Format my document. So I can look in the errors. This is what I want to do now. So let's see. So I've got it as a string. And then I've got the string. So I want to then do like a JSON convert or something like that and turn it into JSON. Is there a read as JSON? This was worth checking, right? I thought it seemed like a fair idea. So let's just see. Maybe there's a way to do this. Watch this. Let's just find out if I can do this and say as JSON. Yeah, get async. I mean, they're just deserializing it, right? As deserialize object. So, as an object? Maybe I need like a model, like a, if I had a model that represented this, I could just deserialize it, but it seems like something that would be built in. Blazor server runs completely on this. Marcus Voice Programmer. Hello, Marcus Voice Programmer. Marcus Voice Programmer says, Blazor server runs completely on the server. It's just the HTML updates that are sent over as binary messages using SignalR WebSockets. That's correct. Thank you. And that is, again, I had sort of forgotten that. I was getting confused because I'm thinking about Blazor client side. And so that's why I was saying, yeah, over here in the browser, well, it's gone now. I could look at those binary messages, but that doesn't really help. Those are the SignalR messages, I think, that go back and forth. But at the point where I was looking to inspect things, it was happening server to server. And that's why I couldn't inspect those. But thank you. Thank you for that, also adding to that explanation. So let's see. So if I want to convert this content, it's HTTP content. No, it's, well, wait. Content read as string. Seems like there should be an easier way to convert this into, like, maybe just object, but I don't want an object. I want like an object that's going to be helpful. So I could create this object. Yes, I was thinking that different anyway. This isn't what I want. Well, I could create an object, right? So what if I, you know what I could do? What if I go over to my Blazor server? Isn't there like a paste from JSON or something like that? What if I just go into this like head class? I'm going to call this, I don't know, HTTP response. HTTP result is probably what it should be, but all right, well, let's just see. So I get this thing, result content, read as string, and I thought that there's a way, give me a sec, to take this. Isn't there like convert C# to JSON or something like that? Paste JSON as classes. Look at that. Told you. I told you there was a way to do that. Now yes, edit paste special. Thank you, Rich Ross. Yeah, thank you. Now, the interesting thing is that these errors are more specific than I even want them to be, which is kind of weird. I think I just want this level. Because this is going to be different every time. You know, every time, like I want this to be some reusable thing. So I wonder if I could do this, but then there's got to be an errors class. Something like to-dos imported equals JSON convert deserialized list my to-do list. Right. Yeah, I know. Restream delay is a pain. Rich Ross, thank you for mentioning that. So Marcus Voice Programmer says something like this. Let's see, wait. I like to put these things, I like to do this featured chat thing, except I get confused where I am there. There we go. So, to do imported JSON. So I'd have to have this list. I mean, this is what I was thinking originally. I'd have to have this, the object to deserialize it as. And so I was trying to go with this kind of approach that this would give me the whole thing. The problem is that this errors, I really just want this to be, this is a string array. How is that a string array? What's in there? Well, I guess each one of these errors has, why are these like an array? There must be a reason that that's an array, but that's kind of causing trouble for me. So I don't want this to be, I feel like this could be more dynamic. Yeah. Miguel RM says errors could be dictionary string of string, maybe a string array, a string array. Yeah. Yeah. Like maybe I can just do that. I'm going to copy what you had and see something like that works. Like this. And then I hate leaving this as lowercase, but the JSON serialization, I know I can do like ignore string or something like that. This feels pretty good. So let's just try that. So now what I want to do is go over to this thing. I'll just leave this in here for now because I'm also going to have this HTTP response. No, this, I don't know. There's a root object. I don't know where this goes. Just, oh, this is the thing I made up. Sorry, I just left it in there. Okay. So if I go here, I should be able to do JSON convert deserialize object, and I'm going to say, oh, gotta remember what it's called. It's called a root object. I think I'll just leave it as that for now because it might not even work. Root object, and I'll say messages. Oh, read as. Let's see. I don't know. read as string, read as stream. Yeah, it feels like it should have this built in. That's why I was trying to copy to. No. Read. I think this is just the way to do it. I mean, it's fine. It's fine, really. Where did I put that root object? Root object is in his Blazor server data. So let's see what that does. I'm just going to debug my way into this and find out what happens. And this turned out to be more sort of a bit more complicated than I expected it to be. It's not terrible. I kind of thought some of this stuff was going to be a little more like built in. So I'm going to do that. And now I'm here. I didn't, oh no. Yeah, I didn't do that, did I? Well, that's the delay here. You probably were saying this at the right time, and I'm not seeing it until after I got this here. Oh, that's just lame. Isn't there like a debugger should be smart enough to like put that out on the screen somewhere? I mean, so it didn't fail, right? Which is kind of a good sign. What does this do? You know what I could do? That's an await. All right, that's fine. I'll just fix it. I was thinking maybe I could play with, you know, the console and do it in place, but it's an await, and I don't know what happens with all that stuff. So let's just say var root. It's a root object, whatever the heck that is. So let's just leave it as a root object. And here we go. Ugh. Never goes to the right screen. Submit. Bum, 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 bum. Now, I've got the title, right? This is fine. This is the stuff I expected. Errors is a count of 4. And that is pretty close to what I would hope to have, keeping this pretty generic, right? TMID, these are the fields, right? And I can zoom in on that. Oh, what happened? When I zoom in, it doesn't like me hovering. Oh, look at that. Isn't that great, huh? I wonder if I pin it, does that make it work better? No. Well, I can't really zoom that apparently. But what if I hover over it? Well, then will it zoom? No, never helping me with the zoom. But you can see, hopefully you can see in there, these are the errors I want. And I could expand those out and see the value of the string. It's a little nested, but that's okay. Because you could have more than one error per property. So it really is fine. Now what I want to do is I need to then take those errors. For the sake of simplicity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those errors, and I have this result here, and I'm going to say for each or error in root object dot errors, and I'm going to say like result dot messages dot. This is lame. Like I'm kind of stripping out some of the stuff in here, but I just kind of want to. It's a work in progress here. This is a theory here. I'm going to say error dot. Go away there. So this is going to be the error, and I'm going to go into the value. The value is an array, but I know it's going to be in the first one. So this is kind of lame, but I think. Do I need to toString that? Like, I think I can just do that. Thinking about my, and then that would give this error message back to the, okay. And then the Blazor app is going to get those errors. So I'm going to be over in my entry here. And I'm going to get the thing and I get the result. Okay, the result status is going to be, did I do that? Oh, the result status is going to be, wait. Why did I put, oh, this is going to be equals. Yeah, so this will be a not good. Okay, that'll be good. And then display error messages. And I was just goofing around here. And so I could then, so how do I get them? What would be cool is how do I rebind that? Because using valid submit, why would there be any errors? Okay, Marcus Voice, fair question. There probably shouldn't be. All right, but I changed this to be on, not valid submit. I changed this to be on submit, even though the method here is called, this is a test, right? This was on valid submit. And you could say, why would there be any error messages, right? And because we're doing, so I want the server side to be able to return error messages because you never know what happens on the server. We might also introduce new errors that the client didn't know about, right? That this didn't know about. In fact, I think we will because, and maybe there's an easier way to do this that I'm not thinking through. But if you look back, if you think about my API is going to get, so this thing here right here is going to block all the errors. It's going to sort of stop all the errors anyway, right? Even if I wasn't using something that was like not Blazor, you know, let's say this is coming from, this API is just being used from a different interface or something like that. So if that's the case, then we could get errors on this side. And if we're assuming that we can get errors on this side, then I also have to make the assumption that there can be errors that happen on the API side that aren't covered by the control, by the attributes that I used, you know, to do the validation. For instance, I think what's going to happen is I have this date field, and I think there's going to be more complex validation on the date field. That's probably not going to happen in the Blazor side because it's going to need to look things up and like compare that the date isn't already used and things. I think there's going to be reasons, right? I think that there could be errors that come from the server that are not the same as the ones. So Marcus Voice Programmer says, yes, because it's Blazor server, there is no side, right? I think I understand what you mean there. You don't really need to use API if you don't want to. Well, I don't need to use an API, but this is, you know, I'm probably making it more complex than I need to be. I like to have an API. I like things to be separated out because I don't know what the UI is going to be. Like UIs change and APIs, you know, sort of, you know, give us that flexibility to do other things with this, right? So call that, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right way. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not sure. I could keep this as a simple Blazor server app and just do all these things, right? The Blazor server side, you could argue, could call directly into my back-end project. And if it called directly into my back-end project, then if we ever needed another UI for it, then I could easily wrap that in an API, but then a Blazor server would have sort of direct access into this orchestrator here. Yeah, it's a toss-up between creating a service or a web API. Depends if it's likely to be different front end later. And I'm doing both of those things, Marcus Voice. I'm creating an API that calls a service, right? The orchestrator is my word for service. Some of these words get a little overloaded, but this is the service that does the actual work, and I'm going to call it from the API, but I could just call it right from the Blazor server application. And if I did that, it would simplify certain things, right? And listen, this is part of the journey of learning Blazor, is like thinking about different ways to build applications, and maybe I'd have to make sure that definitely all the logic is in this orchestrator or / the service, right? If I put any of the logic into something else, then I couldn't easily just dump an API on top of it, right? So Marcus Voice says, if later you needed to build the client-side Blazor app, you would need the web API, right? And that was again, that's the direction I'm likely headed in. If nothing else, just because this is experimentation, right? I'm playing around. But that flexibility is kind of causing me a little trouble now, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like, you could have another UI for it, and Blazor client-side WebAssembly is definitely something I want to try to play around with. I'm not sure it's really necessary for this application, to be clear, but this is a learning experience. So, I feel like this is like therapy on, you guys are like my therapists. I'm like trying to talk to you guys and like, what's the right way to do this thing? There's not a right way. So that, that's why I have this API, right? I was building it that way on purpose. But I kind of thought it would still be a little easier if I had the API, then the server side calls the API, right? Now it is an extra hop, networking wise, from Blazor server over to the web API, but that doesn't tend to be that big a deal. So that puts me back on this Blazor server and on this feedback service, right? This is just simply something I put onto the server application that knows how to, it just encapsulates the HTTP request and sort of makes it simple. So all I have to do is call send feedback async. But it's this deserialization and stuff like that. And then what I really need to do I feel like that object, I feel like whatever I do, I'm doing extra work because there's probably a better way to do it. Because when I get back over to here, I have the errors in this thing. I know they're lame, but what if I just pass this root object back and somehow took that root object and set it like, okay, wait, hang on a second. Can I say, does this thing understand model state? Error model. Maybe there is a model, like knowing that thing came from model state originally. Maybe I can just drop it back into something like this. Like error model is a type, right? But somewhere in here, this is valid submit. But I get the feeling that I should be able to get access to some kind of like model state, like I have in, because if I could do that, this is what I'm thinking. If there was something called model state, and couldn't I just take this result, this result or whatever, dot, messages. It wouldn't be the right, it's not the right object, but imagine my messages was the model state messages. I could just take it and dump it right back into this. But this doesn't even exist. So I wonder if it does though. So I'm talking about Blazor, I'm talking about a Razor page, right? So does a Razor page understand model state? I'm just clicking. Just going with like the first click I see. right? And because it must have model state because it uses it to like handle those errors. It's got to be the same. I don't know. I mean, it might not be. Oh. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm just clicking on an article here. Placing the action. Following code is a snippet from my web API that uses model state. Well, let's make this easier. I'm going to take this and just drop it into a file here so we can all look at it. That didn't work. That is, I know this is going to be crazy, but maybe it'll work if I just paste it in here, right? Oh, right here. You do that? Can I put a class in there? Will it format it? I don't know. No. Okay. So, oh, well, yeah, okay. I can do it over here. Let's just take that and put it over here. Should work over here. I didn't really look to see what it was. Format selection. Whatever. So if bad expense is bad expense, if model state. Well, this is kind of what I'm doing. I've already done that. Right? So I have this. We have this kind of stuff, which is basically right here in this post. We say if, oh no, I see it doesn't even get to here. Marcus Voice Programmer, maybe you missed this part. It doesn't even get to this because the API controller does this for you. Like I can't even get to be a line where I say is valid. This thing doesn't even get hit because this thing blocks it right beforehand before it even gets to that place. So I'm getting this bad request with model state. Like got that already. So I don't know if I'm just trying to do too much and force things in to. What I'd like to figure out is how do I get access to the errors? Okay, wait. Oh, see, it's called a data annotations validator, a validation summary. So the validation summary and these other things like these validation errors that go in here must be based on some kind of model, right? So if they're based on a model, shouldn't I be able to get to that thing? What if I do data annotations validator dot the validation summary is what shows the error messages. You can also do them inline. Right. But there's a model that it's based on. My theory is that if I could tap into that model, then I should be able to set the errors that come back from this and then even have them like appear, like if I wasn't using a summary and let's say this had its own error messages being shown for like each input select and, you know, it would show like, you know, validation errors beneath it. That should all bind up, I think, if I could figure out a way to get this thing back. Oh, wait a second. What if I just set the model to somehow do this, right? Like, isn't there model? Model. No, what is it? Model? What's my model? Well, it's this thing. Hang on, I'm thinking here for a minute. Model at feedback input, right? So if I said something like feedback input and somehow set it and get the right thing coming back from here, which actually has the properties of the feedback input and stuff like that, would the model, because this thing, no, because it's not a model, it's the size, it's, I know that when you have this model, it puts it into something else that has, the validations, like errors associated with it and things like that. Data annotations validator. What does data annotations validator do? I don't know. Maybe I'm just going about this the wrong way. I'm kind of running out of time. A little bit more time. I mean, maybe I don't really care. I kind of get to the point where I want to move on to something else, write some code. Maybe I can think about this later. So this isn't going to work, right? What do I have there? Excuse me, I'm yawning here. Don't forget, in Blazor Server, the users cannot manipulate the input. So on-valid submit will work. Yes, I understand that on-valid submit will work. And I do appreciate your working through this with me. I do understand that valid submit will work. And so this will be changed back to valid submit, right? And this will be fine. But I'm still stuck on the thing that what if my API has more validation errors? Would I just call them errors? Maybe I just have to count them as something different. And like maybe I just have to think of those as different kind of errors. And if I think about it from that way, if I change my mindset a little bit, then what I could say is I could go back to what I had before, right? And I could do, where was my thing here? Sorry, I'm looking right at it and I can't even find it. So this whole thing about looping through the errors and this little deserialization thing is close enough. Then I could call this result messages, okay? And that goes back. And then here, when I get the result from this, I could say, I could have like a div on here that, just shows the, so, oh, I have this error message here. If error message, so what if I say error messages? Okay, let's just do that. And these will be the messages that come back from the server if for some reason they're different. Error messages, and I can even call them like, I'll just call them error messages. Okay, so error messages goes there. I'm going to say, let's see, maybe like just put a for each in here. For each var message or error message in error messages. And if I do that, then this, yeah, that kind of works. This is error messages. That's error message. And then here I just simply say error messages equals result dot messages, right? And then error messages. So to test this, I can leave this valid submit. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. In my controller, in my orchestrator here, what this thing does, this is going to say bad request. I'm going to go okay if the team ID is 2. It doesn't do anything yet. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, whoa. I don't even have this thing worked out yet. I don't even have this worked out yet on this side because I haven't gotten as far as I was planning on getting on this side. But what this would do is this would allow any error messages that come back from this thing, from this post, would come back to this service, okay? it's going to deserialize that object. And then that object, which is this thing over here, which is really getting messy. Type, title, status, trace ID, errors. So I guess errors will be empty. I don't know what happens. It'll just deserialize it. And status will be as an int. So I have to look at that. Are those going to be like 300, 200? Are those like status numbers? I think they are. Or I don't know what the type is either. But I feel like that gives me this flexibility to get error messages back from the server. So, How are you guys all doing? Are you guys writing anything interesting? And if so, interested in sharing? Not on screen, of course. Can't do that right yet. But tell us what you're working on. Who's working on Blazor? Or are you learning Blazor? And are you tuned in here because you like to watch me fail? Or because you're trying to learn along the way? Or what? You know, it's an interesting question. Maybe one I don't want to know the answer to. It's possible. So I got a lot of messy code in here. I don't want to check it in with this mess in here. So I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to change this, and I'm going to call this thing HTTP response, I think. I feel like that's being used somewhere, and that's going to get me into trouble. That conflict. But I can live dangerously. I'm going to call this the HTTP response. So, what do we got here? Digital Man 2112, Rush fan. I'm going on a limb saying that's a Rush fan there. Big fan myself. Been watching lots of Rush on YouTube. If you're not a Rush fan, then you're thinking, why is he telling me this? But I've been watching all these Rush documentaries and interviews on YouTube lately. Just loving it. But Digital Man 2112 says, I built Tetris using Blazor and CSS HTML table. That sounds cool. That sounds cool. Way ahead of me. And Marcus Voice Programmer says, this is what I'm working on at the moment. Voice launch Blazor. I'll click this. You're not supposed to click things on live streams, but I feel like Marcus Voice has been helping me enough though. And I clicked it on a different screen anyway, but Voice Admin, I am available for consultation and software development work. Speech recognition, Blazor, MVC, ASP.NET. Voice Admin. What does it do? These are all your to-dos. To done. You can make it to do to done. So you got, so this is cool. Right? This is all Blazor, I assume. Is it voice enabled, this whole thing? Tetris.danduda.com. Oh, it's Dan Duda. Dan Duda. Of course you're a Rush fan. Hey, Dan, how are you? Tetris, let's check this out. Let's check this out. Tetris. Dan, I did not know that was you. Maybe I just gave up the secret, but it says danduda.com. So Tetris.danduda.com. Oh, okay. Well, hang on. I want to come back to this Marcus Voice thing. Tetris WASM. All right. Oh my. So I can. I guess I have to wait till it comes down, right? You do this, and I get the next one. Oh, look at this. I'm gonna go there. I'm lousy at Tetris, by the way. Oh, that'll work. I don't know how this is streaming, if this is like clear on the stream or if this is just glitchy. But this is cool. I'm lousy at Tetris, as I said, but this is cool. This is awesome. Oh, and I can rotate them too. I forgot about that. Okay, I'm going to go straight down with this. All right, well, listen, I don't think we want to see me sit here and play Tetris, although I'm having fun. Uh-oh. Let's go right here. You guys should try this out. This is tetris.danduda.com. So I'm going to bail on this for a minute here. But let's get back to this. Marcus Voice Programmer. It's me that's voice enabled. It's all done without mouse or keyboard. Wow. That is fascinating. And Marcus Voice, I don't know if this is something you want to share with us. Is that something from necessity that you need to work without a mouse and keyboard? Or is it something you were just experimenting with, trying to figure out how to do that? Because this is fascinating. Speech recognition stuff is amazing what you can do. I've seen some really cool demos online. And now I'm realizing that it does say Marcus Voice Programmer, and I wasn't putting this together. If you click on commands, it shows my popular commands. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Navigation. So these must be plugins to Visual Studio is what I think. So kind of guessing that's what these are. Look at this. Filtered applications, no brainer. My KB commands XML. Do you have is there a page on here that explains this? This is cool. So you have these wraps, right? You're sending keys. I mean, I get it. I get what's going on here a little bit, just off the top of my head here. Select, drag, and custom stuff. This. How do I go back? Let's go back to commands. You're on to something interesting here. So we've got these Visual Studio commands, basically using Dragon speech recognition, which has Visual Basic scripts. Right. This is kind of cool. List of languages. So this is detail. I mean, I don't have time to get into all this right now because I want to wrap up, but this is really interesting. I would love, it'd be really cool if there was an explanation on here, of like what is actually going on here. That's my suggestion, right? Like if I came in here to tell me like exactly what is going on. Now maybe you don't need that because maybe you have people that are working with this that already know, but fascinating. So I'm getting the feeling that it's not Marcus Voice Programmer, it's Marcus Voice Programmer. But that's just me. Just taking a guess there. It's great to know what people are doing that are working with stuff. And hope everybody's having fun writing code and things like that. And so let's see what's going on here. I just want to take a quick look. So I'm gonna wrap it up. I learned some interesting stuff today about, and I hope you did too if you're watching, about how, first of all, how these controllers, API controllers, will automatically evaluate model state, right? We also, I don't know if I came to a conclusion or not yet, but thinking about the design of a Blazor app is possibly different than other applications. Yeah, right. I think Miguel RM is not talking about my project, but the stuff we just saw from everybody else in this little community here. And I agree, cool projects. I'll put that up on the screen here. Let's put that up there. So yeah, thanks for everybody sort of participating here and learning. We're learning stuff along the way. Didn't make as much progress as I'd hoped. I think that's going to be the name of the game. But I think once I get like a basic structure in, the code part is I don't want to say is the easy part. For me, it's the easier part. Once I get into writing all the server-side code to wire this thing up, the database and all that kind of stuff. Oh, that's right. I even started with creating a database project today, and I didn't spend any time on that. So I'm gonna. Oh, before I leave, wait. I was commit. I wanted to make sure this was a little cleaner. I hate to commit things that are like too messy. So maybe I don't need this validation at all, right? I think that's the bottom line. Is it if I have this validator, it might be fine for extra server-side validation, but I'm going to put a to-do in here. To-do. Do I need this at all with annotations? Should this be for just complex stuff, right? And that would be the idea. Maybe I'll still use this validator, but these things are very redundant because it's all happening at the controller level. So I definitely got that in my head. So with all that and with the things I've learned, I'm going to wrap it up and say, I hope your projects are going better than mine. How's that for one? Thanks so much for hanging out with me for a while here. Whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, do me a favor, subscribe if you're on YouTube, or follow me on Twitch, and look for me on Twitter at Shwami. Shwami Streams. And no, Shwami. Geez, I don't even remember what my Twitter handle is. I got all these different things. At Shwami is my Twitter handle. At Shwami is my Twitter handle. So, can't even remember. I'm mixing up all my stuff. So with that, I'll wrap it up for the day. And I hope to see you guys back tomorrow around 11:30 Eastern Time. Something like that is when I will be starting. So I hope to see you then. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.